certainly lights my fire. Ah! Oh, hello. I didn't realize you were here. I didn't expect you for another 6 minutes and 45 seconds. But since you're here, I suppose we should go ahead and start talking about a really cool Halloween mask, right? That's why you're here. So let me pull out a really cool Halloween mask. And what is it? Yeah, that's right. It's a reproduction of a Don Post Studios classic skull mask. And before I proceed any further, I'd like to take a minute to address the elephant in the room. Hello, elephant. Having done that, there's something I need to get out of the way before I go any further. Namely the blowtorch, because it's in the spot where I wanted to put the elephant. Having done that, I would point out that this particular Don Post skull mask, while to the untrained eye might look like any other Don Post skull mask, is a slightly different variation. And out of 7 billion some humans on the planet, I suppose there are about 62 of them who care about this. But in case you are one of those 62, I wanted to bring this to your attention because I thought it was super cool. In 2025, the creeps at Trick or Treat Studios came out with a series of Don Post mask reproductions, working from and developed from original molds and sculptures and such. And this is a version of the classic skull, which you may know from movies like Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, in which these were used as cursed evil Halloween masks. And they just used a pre-existing Don Post skull mask in that movie. It turned up in a bunch of other movies too. If you've ever seen a movie with a Halloween party or a costume contest or something, once in a while, movie set at Halloween or with a masquerade party, you will have a Don Post skull mask in there somewhere. Now, what's different about this one? I don't know if you can tell on your monitor of choice, but this is called, let me put this down. This is called the Antique Skull. The Antique Skull. Why is it an antique skull? Someone said, is it really an antique? Well, no, because it just came out in 2025, so it's not really an antique. Someone says, would you find it in an antique shop? Well, no, probably not. Someone says, is it named after Dr. Lady's aunt, whose name just happened to be Eek? I don't think it's Aunt Eek's. Wait, is it? No, her bridge work wasn't this good. He's got all his own teeth, except for that one that he got from his grandmother. But this particular antique skull, it's not actually an antique. It's not something you'd find in an antique shop. It's not made of bone china, although it's supposed to look like bone, and it's made in China, so we're kind of in the ballpark or in the boneyard. But it's an antique skull because instead of being painted white over black, this edition is painted sort of yellowy, sort of pale eggshell yellow tan kind of color, which looks more like a realistic bone, looks more realistically like an aged skull. And instead of being black underneath, it's dark brown, kind of like a dark chocolate bar. Ever have one of those Hershey's Special Dark? Kind of looks like that color, like a Special Dark. And most of these were black with white. This one is different. And by the way, what's that object underneath skull mask? Let me tell you, this object is what I have under some masks. It's just a length of PVC pipe. And this is what, about 3 1/4, I think, OD. That means outer diameter, not overdose. Crying out loud. I think it's about 3 1/4. And all I've done is buy a chunk of this at a hardware store, and you can saw it off. And then I put black tape around the bottom, poured a little bit of plaster in there for weight, give it a little ballast, and wrap the black tape on up so that you will just see black instead of white when I'm standing a mask on it. Now, ordinarily, I would have some stuffing in the top of the mask too, rather than just allowing this flat circle to maybe press too much on press upward on the mask as the mask hangs down, you see. But for the sake of the video, I just wanted it to be something I could stand up, so I've just stuck it on there. And besides which, the antique skull, like a lot of the other Don Post reproductions from Trick or Treat in 2025, has a clear plastic, rigid plastic liner in the face. So if you see something in there that looks weird, okay, the eye holes are actually cut out like the traditional skull, like all the way around there. That's just a piece of clear plastic. And the reason for that is just so that it will hold its shape during shipping, during storage. You can punch the back of the head in like so. You could stack these up if you're storing a bunch of them because you're going to sell them in your costume shop or novelty shop, or if you just don't have room for all those masks in your house anymore. But you pop the back out, stick it on there, and it's a super cool thing. I actually had one that looked like this when I was still alive. That was the dark brown vinyl, which this is made of. The dark brown vinyl with the sponge painted or stipple painted, not quite white, but kind of a yellowy, creamy, beigey sort of, well, I don't have a white one here to show you, but I do have the old skull bucket right here, also from Trick or Treat. I have the skull bucket. Now, I hope you can see some difference there when you look at these on your viewing device, because in person, I can see a clear difference between white on black and yellowy tan antique color on dark brown. So these sell for about 50 bucks. Not bad for this accurate of a reproduction of a great Don Post classic. And it says on here, they left this bar with the copyright date on it, which was on the original mask. They just altered it a little bit. Shh, don't tell anybody. It still says copyright 1967 Don Post Studios Inc. But they added a 2024 in there. They added that because that's when they worked on this project and came out with this thing. As I have mentioned with other masks that have plastic liners, do take the plastic liner out if you're going to wear the mask, because you cannot breathe through a hard plastic liner. But that pretty much sums up the beauty of the antique skull. 50 bucks from Trick or Treat, and kind of even cooler than the white one, I think, because it looks more like a real skull. And back in the day, there were only rubber skeleton hands that were chalk white. But today, I believe Ghoulish and I think maybe October, that's October with a K, I think they both sell rubber skeleton hands that are come in either white or like the bone color. So you should be able to find something similar to this to go with your costume, which of course probably consists of a black hooded robe or a black hooded cape over a suit with bones either painted on or put on, made of foam or latex or vinyl. Anyway, a cool thing to add to the collection. And you want to cut this off, cut this Don Post Studios tag off that Trick or Treat Studios has put on here, because you don't want people saying, "Excuse me, Mr. Skeleton, why do you have a big green piece of cardboard stuck to the top of your head? What is that?" What do you see? That spoils the whole effect of scariness. Anyway, till next week, here's hoping all your nightmares are cool ones.